Back live on In Focus, a survey by the South African Council of Educators shows that in the past 3 years, more than 452 cases of sexual misconduct were recorded. And in a recent parliamentary response, Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga says 191 cases were recorded in 2022 alone. This was an increase of 22 cases compared to the year before, when 169 offences were reported. For more on this, we're joined now by George Moroasui, Legal Affairs and Ethics Manager at the South African Council of Educators. But George, good evening. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. If we are looking at the graph from the last time you and I had this conversation, it looks like the graph is going up as opposed to down. So it's either you are not doing what you said you were doing the last time we spoke, or your tactics are not effective enough.
Good evening, Gustavo, and good evening to the viewers. Tabo, it is not about not doing what we're supposed to do. There is indeed an increased level of reporting, of course, with people getting to be aware and know the functions of the SACE. The increasing has since increased, and it may even rise in the current financial year, 2023-2024. But it doesn't mean we're not doing what we are doing. As I said, it's all about increased reporting. And let it be known that this is just but the tip of an iceberg. This is the bit that gets reported. Many of the cases, Tabo, gets managed. I use the word managed because as soon as there are complaints or reports of sexual abuse of learners, educators would run to these families, offer them money, and these cases never get to see the light of day. So this is but the few that gets reported.
Yeah. So what happens along the way between 92 cases reported and 23 disciplinary proceedings being instituted and only 4 being struck off the roll? I mean, it's really a poor outcome.
It may be said to be a poor outcome, but the best question would have been, as you asked, how do we get here? The answer is, much as we do get these reports, much as we investigate them, much as we find in most of the cases evidence to support the allegations of abuse, these cases never get to see the light of day when it comes to disciplinary hearings. As they get withdrawn, it's either the victim will disappear, don't talk to you, don't take calls, don't respond to anything. You find parents and they say, please don't talk to our child, we don't give you permission. Some will go to the extent of, you don't mention our names or else we will sue you. You don't touch our child. So these are the challenges that we're sitting with. And in the absence of a witness, you do not have a case. So we end up being forced to withdraw these cases with the hope that someday someone will come up. Indeed, they do come up, even though after a long time, to say, I know I lied to you, then I would like to proceed with this matter. It could be 3 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 2 years later. These things happen. But I'm simply saying our challenges are huge, the same as what the police suffer. We battle with our witnesses who disappear. We battle with parents who do not allow us access to their children, even though some of the same parents were the ones who reported these cases. And we end up knowing what happened.
Have we done an investigation as to why would parents open a case today, and as you're investigating, and when you want to proceed with the disciplinary, they withdraw? What could possibly lead parents to do that?
We know, Tabo, that the money has exchanged hands. That is what we know. It is something you cannot prove. Some you hear, some you see, that the money indeed exchanged hands, because once that money doesn't flow in anymore, they come back to say, can we proceed with that matter? Then we know that the influx of the money doesn't, has been halted. So that is what we have figured. I must say, Thabo, that most of the learners who are being abused are hungry children. That's the sad part. They are well identified. These educators know them well. They know who to go for. They go for those without support. They go for the hungry ones, and they know when you offer money, they must eat tonight. They must eat today. Hence, they would rather sell a child for 500 rand per month instead of supporting the process. Because when you support the process, you get rid of this teacher and you protect another child from being abused the same way. So they are really well chosen. They don't go for it.
Reluctance to cooperate, I understand what you're saying. It could be linked to, of course, the intervention from the perpetrator exchanging money. But there is also a sense that the disciplinary hearing environment doesn't feel safe for the alleged victims to participate. So the victims don't feel safe. Even those who would have witnessed this thing don't feel safe because they don't feel that they will be protected after having participated in the process.
Thabo, that is the truth, the feeling, the fear that I may not be protected. Some would say, no, if I speak, will I not be victimized? There are certain things that you cannot guarantee, even when there are no threats. Some will just say, what if I get victimized? So that is a far-fetched fear, but it's difficult to allay it. Even if you say you will testify in camera for your comfort, but they'll say at the end of the day, I still have to go back to the same community. I still have to go back to the same school. So when you look at it in its entirety, you will find that it's the same challenges that are being suffered by the police. They cannot be on guard. They cannot be with you every other time wherever you work. I mean, wherever you walk, wherever you find yourself, they just believe that an accused, as also a law-abiding citizen in inverted commas, will not harm you. So there is a real threat, there's perceived threat, but usually there is no real threat. It is just perceived threat. What is? And let it be known that these victims, some of them are afraid to speak or testify because they are being victimized or threatened by fellow colleagues to this educator. Some are being threatened by learners themselves because now you have reported our favorite teacher, then they ostracize you, they victimize you, and so forth. And victims end up feeling helpless, unprotected, and reluctant, therefore, to participate in the proceedings. This forces us, without a victim, without a complainant, you cannot proceed with a matter. You may have a statement, but statements do not speak because they need to be interrogated. It is for that reason that we end up withdrawing the many cases, unfortunately, and thereby unable to protect, one, the image of our profession, the teaching profession, unable to protect the next child in the school because these perpetrators end up moving to the next one and the next one and the next one for as long as we keep protecting them.
Yeah. Withdrawn cases is exactly the least of our worries. The most important thing is that we have predators, sexual offenders, scumbags that are continuing to earn a salary, and they are continuing to victimize even more of these learners because they are still remaining in the schooling system. How do we ensure effectiveness of the processes of SACE?
When you say effectiveness, Thabo, our processes are effective, but they are defeated. As I said, I've already mentioned how they get defeated, but it takes all of us, Thabo, to get it right. We're going to begin, the day we as parents begin to take ourselves seriously, take the issues of abuse, sexual abuse of our children seriously and say, I am going to stick it out to the end. I am not going to sell my child. I will support my child to the T, because once they are unsupported, there has been an instance where a parent said, if you testify, you do not come to my house, you must live with these people from SACE. You must go with them. So once those things are in place and they exist, a child will feel empowered, disenfranchised. She cannot speak for fear of reprisal from the very parent who should be protecting them. So I must say our systems are effective, but they are defeated, and there is not much we can do in that regard. The much that we can do is the day we, as parents, say it is going to stop, the abuse of the children is going to stop, then this abuse is going to stop. Yeah. It is going to stop again, Thabo, the day we as schools take the decision to say we are going to empower children. We're going to tell these children what we should not do to them as teachers. We're not going to beat you. We're not going to sleep with you. We're not going to propose love to you. We're not going to have sexual relationships. We're not going to flirt with you. We're not going to sex with you. We're not going to groom children. The day we empower these children and say this is what we shouldn't do, it is going to stop. But for as long as we know what we know as teachers, and we know that they don't know, they remain disempowered, the abuse will continue, and it has to stop now. It has to stop.
It has to stop indeed. George, as always, much appreciated. Thank you very much for coming on tonight and talking to us. George Moroasui, Legal Affairs and Ethics Manager at the South African Council of Education.